Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today. And today, the Houston Texans have made two very surprising roster moves as the Houston Texans have released defensive tackle Roy Lopez, who was a draft pick for the Texans in the 2021 NFL Draft, who we selected in like the fifth. It was the fifth or fourth? Yeah, I think it was the fifth round that the Texans drafted Roy Lopez. He was the guy that a lot of the fans really liked. He was a fan favorite on this Texans defense, and he was a really good player. Made an immediate impact to this Texans defense, was a starter as a rookie, fifth-round draft pick. And not only that, have the Texans not only waived Roy Lopez, but they've also released Roy Lopez. They've also released defensive back and cornerback and punt returner Desmond King II, who's been absolutely outstanding with the Texans in his two seasons. Here, we're going to go for both guys. Roy Lopez, in his 2 years with the Texans, he has played 16 games with 15 starts, with one fumble recovery in 2021, and returned that fumble recovery for 6 yards, with 1 sack, 31 combined tackles, and 5 tackles for loss with 2 QB hits and 1 sack, if I didn't already mention that. 2022 with the Texans, played 17 games with 14 starts. He had 1 pass deflected with 1 sack, and he had 36 combined tackles with 6 tackles for loss and 3 QB hits. And not only that, but he also did have a tackle for a safety. So he had a safety, which is a tackle for loss. So Roy Lopez did get accounted for a safety this season for the Houston Texans. And I'm pretty sure that safety was against the Cleveland Browns. And that was a play where the Texans brought down Nick Chubb. And I'm pretty sure the safety that Roy Lopez got was against the Cleveland Browns when Nick Chubb got stopped in the end zone. But Roy Lopez has been really good for this defense in his 2 seasons here. But the thing is the defensive tackle room has gotten better this going into this season. They drafted Dylan Horton from TCU. They signed Hassan Ridgeway from the 49ers. They signed Sheldon Rankins from the Jets. So this defensive tackle room has gotten better for this Texans team. They still have Malik Collins. They still have some other guys in the defensive tackle room. So I'm not that surprised that Roy Lopez got cut, but I thought he would possibly still make the 53-man roster. Now, Desmond King, though, I was fully Roy Lopez, I actually thought there was a decent chance Roy Lopez would get cut. I thought ultimately he would probably make the 53-man roster, but I knew there was a decent chance he could get cut. But Desmond King now, you would have said to me Desmond King could get cut, I would tell you hell no. I thought there was no chance Desmond King would get cut. And his 2 seasons with the Texans, 2021, he was also a new player to this Texans defense in 2021. Difference is Roy Lopez in 2021, the Texans drafted him. Desmond King, we signed him. He played 16 games with 12 starts for the Texans in 2021 with 3 interceptions, returning those 3 interceptions for 25 yards, with his longest being 25. 6 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble, with 0 sacks, 93 tackles, and 1 tackle for loss. This past season with the Texans, he played all 17 games with 13 starts, 2 interceptions, returning those 2 interceptions for 30 yards, with his longest being 29, 8 passes deflected, 2 fumble recoveries with 1 fumble, and returned one of those fumble recoveries for 20 yards. He had 89 tackles for 10 tackles for loss with 2 QB hits. So he's been really good for this Texans defense in the past 2 years as well. So these are 2 roster spots to the defense that I thought would not happen. I'm very upset that the Texans made these moves. I wanted the Texans to keep both of these guys on the roster, but sadly, I actually heard that there is some momentum that the Texans might pick Roy Lopez back up in 2 to 3 weeks, because apparently what I read is that Roy Lopez is expected to miss the next 2 to 3 weeks, and the Texans very well might sign him after he's injury-free. But what I also heard was that Desmond King is definitely not returning to the Texans, and they have no plans to re-sign Desmond King, but the Texans would like to re-sign Roy Lopez, is what I've been hearing. But I hate these roster moves. I really wanted these 2 guys to make the 53-man roster. Looks like maybe there's a chance Roy Lopez has a chance to, get back on the 53-man roster once he's healthy. But it looks like Desmond King is not coming back to the Houston Texans after, the two great seasons he had as a defensive back and a cornerback for the Houston Texans. He played cornerback in his first year in 2021, and then his second year here, he played defensive back. So hate to see it because he's been great. He's been great on punt returns and special teams, and he's been great on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I hate to see him go, and I hate to see Roy Lopez go potentially as well. But at least there's a good chance the Texans might sign Roy Lopez again. But using your thoughts, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out. Go Texans.